Game Demo!
Alright everybody, it is daily demo time, and today we're going to have a look at some DLC from Mass Effect 2. We're going to have a look at Arrival, courtesy of Jesse Hostin from BioWare. Jesse, thanks for taking the time to drop by.
Thanks for having me.
So, Jesse, you guys have done quite a bit of DLC so far for Mass Effect 2. What is Arrival, and how does it compare with the other DLC installments you guys have released?
So Arrival is basically our final premium DLC pack for all the platforms. It is a kind of a story mission-based DLC about you trying to find out what's going on with the Reapers' invasion plans and their imminent arrival into the system. Okay,
so it adds, like I was asking you earlier, a little bit of additional closure for those who've played Mass Effect 2 to completion?
Absolutely, it's kind of like an epilogue piece. Now the interesting part about that though is it doesn't unlock right at the end of ME2.
Okay.
You can actually, or Mass Effect 2 rather, you can unlock it right after the first act, after Horizon.
Okay.
But there's some subtle differences that happen depending on when you decide to go and do the mission. Whether or not you choose to do it right after the end of Mass Effect 2, or if you happen to do it right after the end of the first act.
All right, cool. So we've actually got the game loaded up right here, so let's take a look at what's going on. We're obviously going to jump into a fairly combat-focused, or actually some conversation.
Yep.
Who are you? What are you doing?
Dr. Kenson, I'm Commander Shepard. I'm here to get you out.
Commander Shepard? I'd heard you were alive. Hackett must have received my message.
We're not safe here. Can you walk?
I'm fine. Just give me a moment.
We have to go. Now.
If we can find a console, I can hack security. Make us an escape path.
Then we'll find them. Go.
Ready.
So, what exactly did we just see there, Jesse?
So basically, the beginning of the mission, Admiral Hackett, who's voiced by Lance Hendrickson, sends you to a system to rescue Amanda Kenson. And so what we just kind of interrupted right there was a torture sequence with Kenson. And now we're basically trying to break her out of prison. So right now we're kind of fighting through the prison blocks where she's going to get access to a computer in order to let us get out as well as shutting down the orbital communication system so they can't actually track us.
Okay. So in terms of combat, how does Arrival compare to the other DLC you've released, and really the game as a whole? Is it are you guys trying to do anything differently with combat this time around?
Absolutely. So one thing you're going to notice is Shepard, for the most part, is running solo in this mission. So a lot of the combat is definitely keyed a little more towards how Shepard can interact with cover, and you're going to see a lot more of just single combat oriented stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now that doesn't mean that we're actually having fewer enemies. In fact, you're going to find the combat to be potentially even more intense than a little more intense than you're used to, but still like really high quality, still really story driven content. Just your henchmen are taking this one at home.
Okay. And you mentioned before that you don't necessarily have to have completed ME2 to play this,
No,
but
absolutely.
In terms of difficulty level, would you recommend that people have completed it?
No, in fact, so where I'm playing right now is, right after I would have gotten back from Horizon,
Mm-hmm.
is where I'm playing right now. So I'm still fairly early level. As you can see, I still got, I got a very early trophy just there. So from a kind of difficulty perspective, it's really balanced towards, well, first of all, the balance is dynamic. So, stuff gets a little harder the later in the game you play, but it's really fine to play it wherever you want and whenever you're ready to actually experience the story.
Okay.
So right now, basically, Kenson is still hacking through the computer. You can see her health on the screen there. They're sending waves of enemies after us, and I have to basically protect her while the prison guards try and get in. And they're coming from multiple floors. They're coming from all around us. This is a totally new kind of element for the franchise. We've generally we've always been a good cover shooter, but now we're starting to look at throwing enemies at you in different from different directions and stuff like that.
Almost done.
And how does the arsenal of weaponry compare to Mass Effect 2?
So we actually didn't include any new weapons in Arrival. So you just bring whichever weapons you happen to have with ready for you.
Okay.
So in this case, I brought like the guest shotgun and the Matic from some previous DLC. But that's we really wanted to focus more on the actual combat aspects and less on the providing new weapons. So as you can see, Kenson's finished hacking. Now we're up on the elevator, heading towards. There's a shuttle that landed earlier in the pack, and we're going to try and escape on that. But we've got to fight our way out.
So, Jesse, I suppose one of the luxuries that you guys have when you're designing the DLC for a game is that you kind of have the luxury of, you already know what the fan feedback is for the original game. How did you guys factor that into designing the Arrival DLC?
Well, we took a lot of feedback, actually. We learned a ton from Overlord and Kasumi and Shadow Broker and a lot of our, even from the main game of what fans liked and what fans didn't like. And you're just going to see kind of consistent improvement. I mean, if you look at the difference between Overlord and Shadow Broker, I mean, Overlord was a phenomenal piece of DLC. Shadow Broker rated one of the best DLCs that we've ever put out. And you're going to see a nice logical progression in here. This one being a little bit more combat focused than Shadow Broker is. Shadow Broker is more focused around VR. This one's more focused about kind of Shepard and his take on things. And you're just going to see that progression, though the quality progression is still there. It was actually developed. This particular piece of DLC was developed out of the BioWare Montreal studio, in part with us at BioWare Edmonton. But they did, the lion's share of the work, and they've just pulled off a really high quality piece of content, in my opinion.
So the charges against you are true.
Well, to be fair, that's about half the story. My people and I were here investigating rumors of Reaper technology out in the fringes of this system.
I guess you found something.
We found proof that the Reapers will be arriving in this system. When they get here, they'll use its mass relay to travel throughout the galaxy. We call it the Alpha Relay. From here, the Reapers can invade anywhere in the galaxy.
So you decided to destroy it?
Exactly. Doing that would stop the Reapers' invasion. Even at FTL speeds, it'd be months or years before they got to the next relay. We came up with what we just called the Project. A plan to launch a nearby asteroid into the relay and destroy it before the Reapers could arrive. Of course, the resulting explosion would probably wipe out the system.
I've always heard that mass relays are indestructible.
I've heard that too. But I think it's more that nobody's willing to find out what happens when one is destroyed. And, well, we plan to slam a small planet into the thing at very high speed. By our calculations, that's more than enough.
I still don't see how you learned about this supposed invasion.
The evidence came from what we call Object Rho, a Reaper artifact we discovered among the asteroids near the relay itself. When we get back to Arcturus Station, I'll explain everything and provide copies of all our notes on the artifact.
The stakes are too high. If you were willing to destroy a whole system over this, I want to see your proof.
I guess I can't argue with that. Give me a moment. Kenson to Project Base.
Good to hear your voice, Doctor. You coming home?
Affirmative. And I've got Commander Shepard with me.
Shepard? Really?
Tidy up the lab. The Commander needs to confirm the artifact.
Right. I'll get everything set up for your arrival. Project Base out.
All set. Just sit back and relax. We'll be there in no time.
All right, Jesse, well, with the conclusion of that conversation there, that seems like as good a point of any to lead to the final question that I have for you. When is Mass Effect Arrival going to be available to download, and is it going to be on all 3 platforms?
Absolutely. It's going to be simultaneously available on all 3 platforms on March 29th.
All right, thanks a lot, Jesse.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks a lot. Well, there you guys have it. That's Mass Effect Arrival. Now on with the rest of the show.